You're listening to a Benstown and McVeigh Media Podcast Network production. Run It Again is an inside look at the players, the coaches, and the business of sports with former NFL star and broadcaster Ron Pitts.
And 2 minutes later, I was back in the same Oklahoma drill that I got the concussion from.
And the mastermind behind the greatest show on turf, Coach Mike Martz.
And we want to force him into a vanilla defense and go to work.
Run It Again is a hard-hitting, no BS podcast that connects you directly to the source. This is Run It Again.
Before we start, really, I just want to tell you how impressive all those trophies were last week. And I know you're a surfer too, so I know you are. And I don't have all that. I don't really have all that stuff. So,
oh, jeez. Oh, my God.
I don't.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't have a lot. I mean, I don't have a big trophy case. And we'll stick all my trophies from being
right. I understand
hearing that and all that kind of stuff. But
you are what you are, right? Yeah. You have what you have, and you are what you are, right?
What are you going to do?
That's great, man. That's great. Well, yeah, obviously, and people around the country and around the NFL know it because that's why Sean Payton had you go down to New Orleans. And I enjoyed that game last night. I have a lot to say about it, but at the end of the day, I thought Jameis Winston took control, got on some people's behinds, and they walked out of there with the victory. That's all I know.
He did. Some of them walked out of there with a piece of their rear end bitten out too, you know.
And they probably needed it.
Well, you watch that receiver, he kind of goes half speed. He's not looking for the ball. And, you know, a quarterback, and he's back there under that rush. And see, that's what Brady happened to him when he first went down to Tampa Bay. That's why he was so upset with him all the time. I think Jameis is a real good player. He's way better than I thought he was. I think as they get their players back, you know, he'll start to be more involved in the passing game than probably what they've been. But yeah, you know, the running back was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, we're talking about the young receiver Smith.
Yeah,
but he took control. He took control, but you talked about that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And for our listeners that don't know, Coach Martz was summoned down to.
But Ron, in fairness, you know, he does that to a lot of coaches. He brings a lot of guest guys in. I was just wondering.
I got you. Probably. No, I got you, Mike. I know. I got you. As the trophy sits comfortably to your right there, I understand. But anyway,
I was moving it, Ron, and all fair. I was just moving it, and in the discussion, I was moving it across my desk here, and he just happened to get in the.
It just happened to get in the way, man. You know that stuff happens, man. It happens. You know, you just got to deal with it and move on. So was
it Harris last night, the running back?
Yeah,
he was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He took that game over, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he did, and I'll tell you who else took the game over, and I don't want to say I was surprised at it, because I know how that team is under Sean Payton, and they've always been physical on defense. But the linebacker number 56, Demario Davis. Wow. You know, you see a play.
He fit that run, you know, and the guard did it great. He came off and scooped and was just coming off the double team to pick him off. You know, he just ran right through him, just jacked him up 2 or 3 times. You know,
he did it a couple times. Yeah. Right. And you know, first you see something, you say, "Wow, what was that?" Then you look at it again. So, is Seattle that bad up front? I mean, they looked like they couldn't block anybody. Or New Orleans is that good right now?
Well, I think New Orleans really is that good on defense. I really do. I don't know how good they are in the back end and all that stuff. But if you want to go toe to toe with New Orleans and run the ball, I tell you, a good game would be Tennessee and New Orleans. You know, that'd be a slugfest there.
Yeah, 2 physical lines, and obviously Tennessee wants to run the ball with Henry, and then New Orleans not taking any garbage there. I see some holes and some things, like I said, I'm going to get off my mind here. The Saints with the win 13-10, that's big for them because they got to keep pace in that NFC South division with the leader, Tampa Bay, of course. But before we get on other games, Mike, so I saw something and I know what the knee-jerk reaction is going to be, and that's fine. It's going to be, well, you're an old defensive back and blah, 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 blah. Okay, but it's more than that. Early in the game, Marshawn Lattimore for the Saints and DK Metcalf got into it.
Yeah.
All right. As expected, now that happens a lot. But I think DK Metcalf has been allowed to be too much of a prima donna. Yeah. And I understand competition, physical play, intimidation, all that stuff in the game. I've been there, done that, seen that, swung that, got it. But what bothered me about this is it's a pattern with him. And I don't know if he's being told to do that from the coaches, but my end point here, it's taking away from his game. The man had 2 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Now, you might think that's big. It's not, because on the 1 touchdown catch he had, Marshawn Lattimore fell down, and then the safety just whiffed on the tackle. But you're not going to get that very often in this league. And I think if you pull back and look at how he's actually playing, I think his production is being hurt by those antics of trying to be He-Man and live up to whatever macho image that they want him to live up to, or that he feels he has to live up to, and start fights and do all that crap. I loved last year when he ran down Buda Baker. That was an amazing play. That's a football play. Yeah. But my point is, Mike, he doesn't need to do all that. It's taken away from his game. I didn't see Jerry Rice do that. I played against Jerry Rice, lined up against Jerry Rice, covered.
No, the great ones, none of them do that.
None of them do that. Right. I didn't see Isaac Bruce do that.
No. You just, guys are focused on playing well and doing what they're supposed to do. And to come over and punk some guy, it'll come back and get you. And then what happens is next week, they look at tape. And he's a marked man. The DBs will go out of their way every week to get a piece of him. So you just don't do that. There's as you know, as a former player, Ron, there's kind of an unspoken. There's a lot of yak, but you just don't punk somebody in a game like that and then not expect the repercussions of it. What he did, you just don't do that. You just don't. And if you do, there's going to be a payback all season long.
Right. And that happens on all sides of the ball and in different positions now.
Oh, no
you're going to take a shot on my quarterback.
Right.
Okay, we're going to set you up. And I'm talking old school here. We're going to chop block your ass.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
You do this to this guy, you go after my punter. Okay, I'm going to do this. So I'm also blaming the league, because the league, as we know, has slanted the rules to the point where, okay, they want scoring up. They want to protect the quarterbacks. Got that. It's an offensive league now. Tom Brady even mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, there's no question it is. But right. But at that point, when that happened, the first time it happened, they both should get a warning on that deal.
Right. And I noticed, like, the third time it happened, I see the official, and this bothered me. He comes sprinting in. Okay, good job. But then he's in Marshawn Lattimore's face. No, you let DK walk away. And I know why he did that, because of what DK has been allowed to do. And the image and the perception is, well, he's the superstar. He's the guy. We don't touch him. I
don't know where initially usually the initial offensive move isn't seen, because once the play's over with, the eyes go to a certain, and then
right.
And then when the play's over with, you see him, the retaliation is just kind of what happens with him. So he's a sneaky dude. He just kind of sneaks that in there, and then they see the repercussion of it, and they never see the, Marquez Pope. Remember him?
Oh, I remember Marquez. He's a hard dude now.
Yeah. Years ago when he was at San Francisco and he played corner, he would press and he'd jump up in the face of those receivers, and he just couldn't get off the ball.
Yeah.
He would bring both hands and knock them back and grab him.
He'd go right to the face or to the throat. Yeah. Right.
So, and Isaac can get off any press, but, he's a lot more physical than Isaac. So I was talking to Isaac before we played. Now, this is years and years ago. This is like I think this is 95 or 96.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to play him. And I said, look, on the very first play of the game, we're going to bring you emotion. He's going to come with you because they're a big man team. Mm-hmm. And then as you come off that ball, you cut him. And it's got to be a vicious cut. And then when you get up off the ground and say, listen, if you're going to try and puck me off the line of scrimmage like that, then this is going to be a tough day for you. Protect your knees, buddy. And so that's exactly what happened. They got a fight. They both got in this big fight. And then Isaac told him, said, listen, you're not doing that to me. You do that, then you better look out of the corner of your eye because I'm coming after you.
Mike, that's great, Mike.
And then when that happened, Marquez, he's okay. Then he goes back to being a corner instead of,
Gosh, you know who you sound like, Mike? You sound like Elijah Pitts. Because see, it's wow. Because I can remember Dad saying, certain linebackers around the league, were doing little cheap stuff, right, and getting away with it.
Yeah.
And he'd say, "Okay, tell you what, we're gonna cut his ass. Next
question.
time he comes in there on a blitz pickup, you cut his ass, and then you get up, and he'll want to fight you. Good, and then you cut him again. Then he'll want to fight some more. Then cut him a third time. Pretty soon. But that's how we worked it out, Mike.
Yeah,
we worked it out.
The players will take care of that stuff, and so and if he didn't have that discussion after he cut him, then it wouldn't have been worth it. But I said, listen, you're not going to do anything illegal, but we're going to give you a running start at him. So it's going to be we're going to motion you, and when you come off that ball, you go and you just whack him. And when he's down the ground, there's going to be a fight. That's okay, but make sure you say to him, that's what's going to happen on every play if you're going to play like that. And then that was the end of it. He just didn't do it.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from this, but it just and a lot of things don't bother me because I know, like what's going on.
It's just not part of the game. Shouldn't be part of the game. There's a lot of yakety yak. Nobody talked trash more than Isaac did, but you play the game the way it's supposed to be played. That's all there's to it.
Yeah, talking all that doesn't bother me, and you could see from the start where it was going. But again, a name like you said, the great ones. I never saw Lynn Swan do any of that. Stallworth, Anthony Carter, Stanley Morgan, Jerry, the guys, the great ones that I played. They didn't get in all that. And I'm not talking about one or two times. I'm talking about it just kept going and going. And again, if DK ended up with 10 catches for 200 some yards, I'd have said that's his game. That's what he does. But it's hurting the game, and it's hurting that team. And Pete Carroll better nip that stuff in the bud because it's excessive. It's too much.
Then what happens is it kind of drifts into the rest of the players too. They get involved with it.
Yeah, and it comes.
In fact, towards the end, I could see that one of the receivers, I can't remember which one it was from Seattle. He wanted to get into it with one of the corners, and one of the linemen came over and grabbed him by the back of jersey.
You're right.
Pulled him away. So
you're right.
I think they get it. I think that stuff will get cleared up. Pete, that's not who Pete is. I don't think. I'm certain Pete doesn't coach that. It's kind of the personality. It's probably maybe his position coaches allowed that to go a little bit, but he'll have to address that.
Yeah, whether it's the OC, the position coach, whatever it is, it's got to be addressed now because, like I said, it's starting to affect your bottom line. Anyway, talk to me about the other games you saw this weekend and what jumped out at you. I know you got a strong opinion on that Rams-Lions game for sure.
Well, the Rams-Lions game is I think he did a great job of coaching. They did whatever they could. It was just a question of time before the dam broke. But, they had a real chance in the fourth quarter when they I'm talking about Detroit now. They threw two verticals into the boundary there, but both receivers were running within 5 feet of each other.
Right.
And so it just got picked. Otherwise, had they scored there, then it would have been close. And I think LA probably still wins it. But, I think he did a great job of coaching. What they've done there, I'm talking about now Detroit, is they're rushing the football. They're a more physical team now on both sides of the ball. Yeah. But they lack at this point, they just lack skill. They just don't have firepower on offense on the outside. They just don't have – they have number 3 and number 4 type wide receivers playing for them. It's just –
That's right.
They just can't go. And is Goff good enough? Yeah. I think what he's done physically bothers me is he's gotten really big with his stroke when he throws the ball. And he wasn't like that now when he came out of college. He wasn't. I remember working him out, and he didn't have that big, long, elongate. He was real quick with the ball, and I think there's something too with his feet. The quicker his feet move, the quicker you are with the ball, those kinds of things. But he just has some fundamental issues that need to be worked out, and he's tentative, But if you have a kind of a quasi offensive line that's trying to play, but they're just not good enough, and you don't have a crew of wide receivers where you can let the ball, you got to make sure they win on a route. Yeah, that's not good. So they need to get him in the offseason some receivers that can separate, and he can let the ball go early and all those good things. But they compete very well. I think the Rams got shocked a little bit, but they came back and did what they needed to do.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it was ironic that going down the field. I noticed the Lions played a lot of 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends there. They smash mouthed them a little bit, and they were very physical. But at the end of the day, Goff threw the interception, and it was off of pressure, and that was the same kind of situation, a complaint that a lot of Rams fans and even the staff had with Goff. What happens in the pocket under pressure.
Yeah, that could very well be. I tell you what happened on that play, though. I'm not so sure he wasn't trying to throw it away, because when he threw that ball, he was on both heels, and the guy was right in his face with his arm. It was boom. He threw it and it was boom, and he got whacked. So there's some, Jeff Van Rapport, we're playing in the Rose Bowl. We're playing Michigan in the Rose Bowl in '86, and
from Arizona State, when your days at Arizona State, right?
And we're going down there in our final touchdown. We're going down there, and he gets chased out of the pocket. Bruce Hill's coming across the back in the end zone. He throws it, and Bruce goes way up in the air, and it's a front page picture of the newspaper the next day and all that. It was a great catch. Mm-hmm. He comes down, we win it, but we win it by a touchdown. He was trying to throw the ball away. He was trying to throw it away. Now, to this day, he won't admit it, but when he came off the field, I said, great throw. He says, Coach, I was trying to throw that thing away.
Boy, that's something.
But over the years now, since '86, he's forgot that part of it.
Yeah, please do. Well, now that we brought it back to light. But no, that's
right.
Anyway,
that happens. My point is, sometimes when guys are trying to throw the ball away, they can't get enough on it.
Yeah.
There was a mess over there. I'm not so sure he was really trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do. If he saw that and that's the throw he's trying to make, then you got issues.
Yeah, and the left guard, well, I don't want to say whiffed. Aaron Donald will make you whiff, but it was just a clean breakthrough, and it all happened so quick for him. But
that left guard, as soon as Aaron Donald came in the stadium, I'm sure he watched him the whole time and was sweating the whole time before the snap.
You watch him coming in the stadium. Boy, I've been in that situation, man. Looking over at a receiver or something. You watch him warm up. You watch him drink his Gatorade.
My favorite is to watch the opposing quarterback warm up, and every one of them, when they warm up, they look like, oh my gosh, look at that arm. And he gets smoked that ball, and then they get in the game. It's just a different guy.
I don't know, Mike. For a while there, we were trying to intimidate receivers. We would stand there, with our helmets on the ground. Me and Chuck Cecil would stand there, and just look at them, just stare at them. We're 30, 40 yards away, but I don't know. We thought it was working for a while. It was working until it wasn't working. So the Rams got a problem with the run. I've said this from day one. They're not stopping the run. I want to see where Raheem Morris takes this team, because first-year defensive coordinator. I like some things they're doing, but again, I don't like some of the other things they're doing. They made a trade with Kenny Young. He's gone. Mike, let me ask you this: when you trade a guy in mid-season like this, a starter, it's because one or two things, and I don't know if it's a cap problem, but it's usually because you got somebody behind him, a younger kid or another guy that you haven't started, that you want to get in the picture and you want to get him in now. Is that accurate?
That's partly plus there's a big market for him, so somebody's chomping at the bit to get him. Number one, and you can replace him easily. So if you can get value, then you do it, and you're not going to miss it. Hopefully you got a younger player that might become a better player. And then the team that's getting them is filling a hole. So it's kind of a happy marriage there.
That was Denver. Yeah. And they got a pick. They each got a pick next year's draft, not future drafts, but wasn't mid-round pick. Wasn't anything big. So any other games that jumped out at you?
Yeah. The Baltimore game.
Oh boy.
Ron, looking at these teams that are going, like Chargers the week before, they were going into a bye and they got embarrassed. Here's Baltimore going into a bye, they get embarrassed. There's a trend there with good teams that are playing at a high level, and they've had like 2 or 3 really top-notch games that they've been able to pull out. And then they know they're going into a bye, and there's a letdown. There just is. And it used to scare the heck out of me. Like we talked about this last week, but here it comes again. You think Baltimore's on a roll, and I'm sure having a bye the next week, is that why they lost? No, but I promise you, it's part
There's
of it.
something to that. No, there's something to that. You hit on that last week. Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going to happen with Baltimore, but here's proof in the pudding again. At Baltimore, they just got turned out.
And all of a sudden they're sitting at 5-2 with the Bengals, and that Jamar Chase kid, that rookie wall is about to hit, maybe, because this is the time of year, folks, the rookie wall, as we call it. It's when rookies get real tired, because remember, they've gone through preseason. They've gone through the NFL season here at 7 games. So they're hanging around 12, 13 games right now on their body clock. And that in college means you're done with the season and getting ready for the bowl game. Yeah. And you've got a week off to do finals and all of that kind of happy stuff. No, we're not even in November yet here.
That's what's funny is you hear a rookie in the locker room, talking about that. And I've had a couple players say, man, this is a long season, coach. He said, about now we're getting ready for a bowl game. Man, this thing is never ending. You didn't get paid like this in college unless you went to LSU or something, I guess.
You're right. Unless you went to the right place. Yeah. Well, Burrow looking nice. He's getting the ball to the right guy. And this team.
Well, Chase, obviously, with that receiver, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Just think of if for instance, Detroit had a guy like him, just one.
Yeah.
One of those guys makes Kamara. If he wasn't there in New Orleans, one of those dynamic players that can put points on the board, he's worth his weight in gold.
Yeah.
That changed everything for them. And then remember when they drafted him, all the complaining, you should have got an offensive lineman, you should da. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's so much of a problem now, does it?
No. I was just getting ready to tee you up on that. Exactly. Now that they're working it out. So 5-2, 2 teams tied top of the division. So we'll see where that one goes.
Now they're on the road to Pittsburgh, I think, this week, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's and I was wondering, because when they lost to Green Bay, I was thinking, boy, there's a lot of negative energy. About the kickers, about the missed kicks, about this, about that, all that kind of stuff. And but now you don't hear that. And I'm sorry, Mike, by the way, the Bengals will take on the Jets this coming weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they got the Jets there. Right.
So he's getting a bye.
Yeah.
Chase is getting a bye this week, so that's good.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so they've overcome some of the negative energy, and that's good. You'd like to see that. And looks like Burrow's legs are holding up, knees holding up.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is when you have a receiver like that, like for instance the slant that he scores on, that's a 3-step drop. So all of a sudden the offensive line looks better because you can get the ball out faster because they're winning on routes.
Right.
So a good offensive line is a great offensive line when you have great receivers.
Yeah, right. That's right. What other game? But the Raiders and the Eagles, Eagles gave it a try, but at the end of the day, the Raiders came back. That's 2 wins in a row now under new head coach Rich Bisaccia, which that doesn't surprise me. The Raiders are that type of team. Once they get something off their mind, then they could go back to playing well again. That's what I always felt with them.
Well, I just feel like it's like a team that's been put in a cage and browbeaten,
Yeah.
And they opened up the door and they let him out. And John, I've known John for many years, but in his younger years, he just looked miserable, and I think he had a certain effect on those players. And I've been there. I had to confess to the team. We started off 0-5 and we were miserable, and it was 0-2. And, I finally had to talk to teams that we're miserable because I'm miserable. We got to change that. So you can get like that, the pressure, you keep pursuing that excellence and pressing. And, it's legal to have fun and coach too, so
it's legal to have fun and coach, right? Yeah. Smiling is permitted.
It's permitted. Yes, have a good time. Yeah. So I changed after that. I did. I changed everything.
What was the first thing you changed?
My attitude. It was okay because I love practice, and I used to go out to practice, and you start looking at all the things that are wrong instead of what's all the things that are right. And then you fix the things that are wrong, but you move on, but you get excited and about playing this game and the opportunity that you have, all the things that you tell a team you don't do, and all of a sudden you fall into that zone where, you're talking to them about excellence and doing this and doing that, and then you're not doing it. And then then you stop listening to you.
Interesting. Was it anything else going on? Was it stuff, front office stuff, administrative stuff?
Yeah. I had a lot of things going on with the front office. I was it took a 6-month long negotiation to get my contract extended. There was a lot of bad blood in the front office. There's just a lot of things going on there that I was trying to contend with. It just kind of puts you in a foul mood, I guess. But, that should never matter when you walk into the coach's room or the field with your players. You just got to put that aside. And I finally was able to do that and just move on.
Yeah. Well, let's move on here to the rest of the games. Green Bay looks for real. Green Bay's got a tough one coming up on Thursday night. Now they're going to go out to Arizona, and there's another team that looks for real, Arizona. And I don't know how they were able to pull off that Zach Ertz trade, but if I'm the Rams and anyone else in that division, I do not like that.
No,
that's a big move.
But there's, again, Ron, there's a great example of what good teams do. They're constantly trying to improve your roster. It's a game of players. That it's all players, and we're there as facilitators, as coaches. So if you don't have good players, you're just not going to win.
Yeah, no. And Keim, the general manager there in Arizona,
great job.
He's doing a heck of a job. I tell you, this is going to go down this year. I don't know how they're going to finish, but my point is this year for Arizona is going to go down as one of the best front office years in off seasons in the history of the league because of the players they brought in just in the last 2 years. Yeah. You got AJ Green in there. He coupled up with DeAndre Hopkins. You got James Conner in there. Okay. They're working along with Chase Edmonds, the running back. So the running game is smooth. You already have the quarterback. You drafted that. And now you bring in Zach Ertz. Let me ask you something. What are the Eagles thinking? I
will tell you this. Remember, we talked about this last week. Is I just believe that the Eagles front office and the personnel they mess with the coaching end of it, and during the season, and that's a place you don't ever want to go to be a head coach at this point. I don't think.
I believe it.
Yeah. Look what happened with the Bengals in the offseason. They pick up like 6 guys that ended up starting for them, and they improved their roster. The Bengals, they never got involved in free agency before. The Bengals. So they've changed their whole approach in the front office. And so they've gone from the lower echelon or the very bottom in terms of how they dealt with personnel, and they've kind of modernized or come to the future with what some of the good teams are doing and being involved in pursuing some of the top-notch free agents and improve their roster. And if you look at a team like Detroit and Jacksonville and some of those teams, Detroit. Now, when I went to Detroit for the short time that I was there, I kept looking at the personnel people. The scouts had been there for 25 and 27 years.
Yeah.
Well, for the last 30 years, the personnel there wasn't very good. So, but they kept firing coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. If you don't have good players there, the coaches don't do this, and they kept firing coaches because somebody had told the ownership that they've got good players. Well, they didn't. We might have a few. We had a few, but we didn't have enough to win with.
They kept. That's always the answer. Get a new coach. Yeah, don't address your real needs.
Just think if just think of a team had a losing year, if they instead of firing the coach, fired the personnel people. Oh, things would change quick.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's interesting. So Arizona now sitting 7-0. They're going to see Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to have a tough time winning that game, especially with Devontae Adams, their big receiver now. Possibly going to miss that game because he was just put on the COVID list on Monday, along with defensive coordinator Joe Barry. That's a twist.
Yeah, those are 2 big ones there. So I think Devontae, and sometimes that's a false positive, but if he can get 2 tests before that, because he evidently feels fine, but if he can get 2 negative tests by that time, then he'll play, but he didn't need practice.
No, I would make sure that was a false negative, if you know what I mean.
No question. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be shocked from a lot of standpoints, like a television rating standpoint, if Devontae Adams doesn't play in this one. He almost.
But the other thing about that, Ron, is if 1 or 2 of them's got it, then they go and test everybody.
Well, I know. I know.
So there may be others pop up here. Hope not, but
yeah, that's how they got Joe Barry, the DC.
So how did who is their third receiver? I know Cobb is there, and he'll have a big night. And Jones, they'll run the ball well with Jones, and they're playing good on defense. But I should have looked this up. Their third receiver,
Valdez Scantling. There's another receiver. Okay.
Yeah, he showed up. He has showed up and played really well at times. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pressure's on. They just got to step up and play.
Yeah. Lazard is there. Robert Tonyan has come on a little bit as a tight end. So that's helped. Yeah. That's helped Aaron quite a bit. He's comfortable there. I want to see, Mike, I'm not sure. And I like the kid, Aaron Jones, the running back.
I think he's a good player.
I do too. He got hurt a couple years ago. Was it they were playing somebody? Yeah, it was last year. They were playing Tampa Bay in the championship game, and they hit him, and he didn't respond well to the real physical play. Remember that Buccaneer defense was real physical.
Yeah,
down the stretch there. Okay, with Levante David and White and everything, and he just looked like he was shutting it down early. I don't know. Maybe but I've seen that in a couple games.
I've seen that happen to back. So before first round picks, they're having a good year, and all of a sudden they're out on the sideline. They're going to drop it, and somebody just lights them up, and then they're just not the same. Reggie Bush was that way. I remember when he was at
you say they're not
Orleans,
the same.
He was at New Orleans, and they went to play. I think it was Indianapolis. And he was lighting the game. He was lighting them up. He was having a great year. He got outside, and they just lit him up, and he was never the same after that. I'll never forget that. And I've had that happen to a couple of players like that. We drafted a running back out in North Dakota, and he came in. He was a good player. Lamar's a good player. We threw him a seam route. Safety came down and
waxed him,
stamped his bus ticket, so to speak. And
his bus ticket.
He was talking about having a family and getting married after that. He was,
oh, that's great.
Talking about my future. I just don't, I love football, but
I want to meet with my financial manager and discuss.
I think I've made enough now, that I can have a good.
My 401k. We need to talk about that. My SEP IRA. But a week ago, he was talking about being the leading rusher.
Replacing Marshall. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's talking about having a family and kids.
Yeah,
I know. House someplace, North Dakota or whatever.
Right. So, not that there's anything wrong with it, but not mid-season.
No,
it doesn't work like that. And you're 23 years old. Right.
The point is, some of those backs that get hit. Yeah. There's special moments where you see it happen to them, and they're never quite the same.
Good point. We'll finish up with these two teams. Tom Brady made easy work of Chicago. Justin Fields got a learning
okay.
day.
Let's just talk about this for a second. Chicago. Yeah. Let's just talk. Now that defense is highly paid, and there are a lot of players on that team on defense. In the first, would they score in 3 plays on that first series? The defense went down, and it just seems like they laid their weapons on the ground. That is a demoralized team. It's like the Raiders before John kind of thing, before John left.
Yeah.
And I think they're good enough. Fields will be in time. I think will be a pretty good player.
I agree.
I think he's going to be just fine.
I agree.
Might be the worst offensive line in the history of the National Football League. They're just awful. If I was a quarterback in Chicago and I was told I had to go to play, I'd say, let's think about this.
You make a business decision.
Let's goose up our running game. Yeah. How many times are we going to run it this week? Would be my first question.
Yeah. Poor kid. he had
Oh, Fields
40.
and the poor kid. He's got. See, that's what happens too with high draft picks that go into a bad team like this. They just get beat up so bad, and they get, that special it that they had coming in just kind of gets tarnished a little bit. They lose their stinger, so to speak.
Yeah. He was 22 of 32, 184 for 3 interceptions and a 44 quarterback rating. It was just one of those days. And like you say, all the reasons. Yeah.
And in that front at Tampa Bay, now you're going to run against those guys. Those two linebackers. I mean, they just, without Montgomery, their running back, it was tough sledding for them. Yeah. But my point is then too, what do you do there? What's going to happen? I just don't know if they've got a bye coming up here in another week or two. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something over the bye. They just have been. Yeah.
You mean something coaching wise?
Yeah, they're too good a football team for them to be the way they are.
Yeah, and Matt Nagy, the head coach, has COVID, so he's in protocol. So
the thing they'll put the icing is that they go out and play really well this weekend.
Right. Yeah. Well, Brady with the much talked about 600 career touchdowns. So, and it much talked about, I say, because the whole thing with the fan, Evans gave the ball to the fan, and now they had to give the fan something back. Yada yada.
So the talk is really, if you were that fan, wouldn't you just take off, leave the stadium?
Leave the stadium. That's what I said, dude. Why are you sitting there? What are you waiting for? Another beer? Yeah. Get out of the stadium, bro.
How much do you think that ball's worth?
Oh, shoot. A couple 100,000.
Yeah. So
a couple 100,000 right now.
So
it'll be more later.
So he got a ball in a jersey for it. Yeah. He did the right thing, obviously. But it's just like the guy with the baseball got that baseball years ago, the home run ball.
Yeah, right. Man, Mike, I'd have pulled my hat down and I'd have briskly walked up those stairs like I was doing a Stairmaster.
You'd been a full run. You'd have been a full
run. I'll go with that. I would have that's right. I would have karaoke'd out of there, man.
It's an interesting question though for people. What would you do?
Get out of the stadium, man. Hey, listen. Mike Evans gave you the ball. You did not break any NFL rules. You didn't go onto the field. That is your ball, and the Buccaneers know it. They got lucky. I don't know what they should have probably given the guy 3 years.
Lifetime ticket to
or maybe lifetime
tickets to the Buccaneers. Yeah, they should really.
And if you're a real businessman, you say, wait a minute, you're offering me lifetime tickets for this ball. This ball is worth a lot more than I think. See you. That's what I'd have done. Anyway,
I think you did it right. I think you did. I'd like to see the Bucs do a little bit more than a jersey and a ball.
Hey, and then it's like a scene out of The Honeymooners, and with Ralph Cramden.
To see the dad and the young man, the little boy afterwards, he was the kid. I think he said something to the point is God is good, or I'm so blessed. Because it was moving. It was cool.
Mike, until he gets home and his wife said, "You did what? You dumb! I'm gonna be." It's like a scene out of The Honeymooners.
We're gonna pay the house off of that. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You dumbass!
You're going to the moon. Yeah.
You're going to the moon. Yeah, it's like Jackie Gleason and The Honeymooners. All right, now younger audience, if you don't know who The Honeymooners are, just Google Jackie Gleason and The Honeymooners, and then you'll get it all, man.
They found Alice Cramden on the moon when they went up there and walked on the moon here in 1969. They found her.
They found her.
They found her on the moon. Yeah.
Alice, you're going to the moon
one of these days, Alice.
Man. Hey, I really love Art Carney. Art Carney was great in that.
He was,
man. Oh man, what was his character's name? Gosh. Dang, I can't remember his name.
I can't remember it now either.
Oh man, wait a minute. And it was Jack. Ralph. So it was Ralph Cramden, and was it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Ed? Was it Ed?
No.
Well, Norton. Yeah, his name. Norton. Yeah. Thank you. Our producer, Roy Hamilton, our Emmy Award-winning producer.
You gotta be the dumbest. Yeah.
I used to love that. Anyway, last one. You're okay, Mike. I know you got your trophy there. You got your ring. I saw the ring, by the way, too, on with the trophy. Yeah, holding the trophy. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that. Yes, thank you very much. And you called this a couple weeks ago about Carson Wentz. You said he's playing better. He's in his groove, and now they're starting to move a little bit. I know they played the 49ers, and they're struggling, but still, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they are, and he's physically not as good as he was. He'll mend those ankles. He's still a little tentative, but he's.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's playing good football, and the matchup between Frank Reich and him—that's the key. And without him, I think he's probably a different player. I think it's fortunate. I think it's just a match made in heaven for him. So, but the 49ers now, they just don't believe in that quarterback. They just don't.
No, you're right.
That's a bad marriage between that quarterback and the head coach. That's just not a good thing.
No. And see, now he's got, and I could tell by Shanahan's comment in the paper yesterday.
Maybe,
he said, well, I would get, they asked him, will Garoppolo be the starting quarterback next week? And he said, next game, he said, I would assume so, or something to that effect. I was like,
maybe,
no.
But that's been that way since the very beginning for some reason. And there's history to it that I kind of know a little bit about, and I won't get into it, but there's just, I think they think there's a lack of commitment on his part,
history between the front office and Garoppolo.
Well, yeah. And the coaching staff in Garoppolo. I think I just don't think they think he's as committed to the game and winning as he doesn't put enough time into it.
But Mike, now we're rehashing this, okay? Because they knew that this water was going to get muddy when they drafted Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to, or the speculation was they were going to move Garoppolo, but they didn't. So right then you handcuffed yourself.
Well, not really, because obviously they don't think Trey's going to be ready for another year anyway. I think after this year it'll be interesting, but Trey Lance is no trip to Hollywood right now either.
Well, then why they draft him? And if he's not a trip,
it's just like everybody else saw. He's they gave Garoppolo all those snaps because he's not a backup, and they're going to bring him along, kind of like what happened with Aaron, or with Rodgers rather, and
Rodgers and Favre.
Yeah, they're going to bring him along, and that's kind of what you'd like to do with the quarterback. You don't want to start a rookie unless you absolutely have to, unless you're Pittsburgh and you had Big Ben, start as a rookie. But I think they probably felt he'd be better than what he is at this point. But the clock's ticking on Garoppolo's time there. He won't be there much longer.
Mike, it's ticking on the whole franchise. They're stuck in nowhere land is where they are.
They don't look
they didn't unload, and they didn't put the new in. They're stuck in the middle. And it's getting worse, and they're going to have to figure it out.
If Trey Lance had played better, in the opportunities, I think things would.
Man.
But he's going to play here soon. That's going to happen. He's going to be playing here pretty soon. Now that Garoppolo played fine, I didn't see any issues. He had, he threw that pick where the ball slipped off his hand at the end there. But those things happen in the rain.
Hey, one thing I'm noticing. So in rain, okay, especially in rain, but even without rain. What is your feeling about quarterbacks and gloves? Gloves on the throwing hand.
I'm ignorant about it because had I known how important a glove could be for a quarterback, we probably would have kept Kurt because that thumb. And then when he left us a couple of years later, he ended up putting a glove on down in Arizona, and it added years to his career and took him to the Super Bowl. So
wow, I
think it's a big deal. especially guys with small hands. Guys with a big hand, when it's wet and it's raining, it's not a big deal to them. You look at Joe Namath's hands sometime when he's doing those commercials. I mean, his hands are huge. So
interesting.
A quarterback with a small hand, he's going to need a little help in those situations.
Was Kurt a big hand, small hand guy?
No, he had a large hand, but his right thumb was, it was deteriorated. The ligament there, he couldn't grip with that right thumb on his throwing hand. Well, that's a big deal now.
That's a huge deal. Wow. Well, that's some insight. And in the rain, I saw Garoppolo was wearing gloves. And in that situation, maybe you have to just to be able to grip the ball. Yeah,
no question. And then in the NFL, there's a rule. You can't use more than 12 balls in one half. Yeah, so you get 24 balls that you can use for the game. So you know, in one series, you might go through 2 or 3 balls, and then they get waterlogged. They actually get waterlogged because remember, the quarterbacks before the game, all that stuff that's on the ball to protect it from moisture, they spend all that time rubbing it off.
Yeah.
All the equipment guys, they have the equipment guys rub them down so they're tacky. They don't have that.
They're not slippery.
Yeah.
That new
That new
shine.
slippery.
Yeah.
So when they do that, though, it also takes the protection off the leather.
Yeah. Wow. It makes me think about the whole Brady thing with and Patriot thing with the underinflated footballs. Is that real? I mean, is an underinflated ball easier to throw?
Oh, no question it isn't it? Especially if it's 10 degrees out. But by the same token, I don't know why that is even a rule. You got to be able to add
whatever you want.
Yeah. Why would, I mean, if you can do it, then let the other team do it. It shouldn't be anything about a competitive advantage. Who cares?
It's all relative. Everybody's catching and throwing the same ball.
If you want a half flat ball to play with, who cares?
Who cares? Right. Yeah.
If both teams agree on it, but
okay. So looking forward here, we talked about Green Bay, Arizona. That's going to be a good one Thursday night. What's the next biggest one? Miami going to Buffalo. No. Miami's 1-6.
No,
that's not that. Right. We talked about San Francisco and the Bears. Oh boy, there's a 2-4 and a 3-4. That one's in Chicago.
I think Tennessee is at Indy, aren't they?
Yeah, Tennessee's at Indy. That's a good one.
I think that's a big one. That might be the big one of the week there. That's because
Indy
is just now hitting. They were so bad early, but so was Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're just starting to hit their stride now.
Yeah. Rams are going to Houston.
Yeah.
6-1, 1-6 shouldn't be an issue.
No.
But as they say in this league, you gotta play it.
Still got to line up and play. Yep.
You got to line up and play it right. Okay. Chargers coming off a bye. Patriots with a big win. And I don't want to say a big win. They scored a lot of points over the Jets.
But it's in LA.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And the Chargers are coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
So the thing that the obvious need for the Chargers, they got to get their running game cranked up again.
Yeah.
And they've got to play better defense now.
Yeah. And this is big for the Patriots because this will get them to 4-4. They'll get them to even. And the Chargers, they need to wipe that Baltimore game off their back.
Well, they do, and they've had a week to sit and stew on that thing. Yeah, they need to put that thing to bed and get some guys healthy again. And I think the bye week came in just in time for them. I think they were, they'd been in some really hard fought games for 3 weeks in a row and went down to the buzzer. So they need that week.
Yeah. Buccaneers are going to take on the Saints. That'll be a good one.
I think that's a big one. Yeah, that's a really big game. It's going to be interesting. I would assume they'll blitz the heck out of them. I'm talking about New Orleans against the Bucs. I think they'll blitz the heck out of them. And it's going to be tough sledding for New Orleans because they want to run first and throw. That's kind of where they are right now. Yeah. You're not going to run against that defense.
Yeah, Brady, when he went down there, last time he went down there was a playoff game, and he took care of business. That was after being beat twice last year by the Saints.
Both games were blowouts. They just blew them out.
Yeah, but there you go. If you can't win the one you need to win, then it doesn't matter, and that's what happened to the Saints last year. So the Saints will have the crowd, they'll have the noise, and they'll have to deal with Brady. And the big thing about this, the Buccaneers don't want to get doubled up by the Saints. Because remember, Saints won the first game that was moved to Jacksonville.
So week 1. I just don't know injury-wise what New Orleans gets back this week. I think what's the quarterback, the slash receiver, the backup? What's his name? They lost him.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Hill has been out, and I think they are getting a couple other guys back, but they need to be at full force to be able to beat these guys.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to get better at throwing football. They're going to, when they went to the 2-minute drill right before the half against San Francisco, they went, it was like nobody was there. They went right down the field and put in the end zone.
Right.
I think they're going to need to be less conservative against those guys to have a chance. They got to let them play.
Yeah. Cowboys going up to Minnesota. I don't know if that's any issue.
It is. It's going to be a tough game because I do think Minnesota can beat anybody at any time.
Minnesota can. Yeah.
They're good enough, and that quarterback Cousins is a really good player. They're a good enough football team that on the road, that's a tough game for. I think it's a tough game for Dallas.
Yeah, I do too. In Minnesota is always tough, no matter what the situation is. Giants are going to the Chiefs. Giants are kind of all over the place. Chiefs aren't far behind as far as being all over the place, but Mahomes' situation is day to day. He kind of got in a weird position.
But the Giants just came off a huge win over Carolina. In fact, they just smoked them. So the Giants are, that quarterback is, he's a guy that was hard for me to warm up to, but he's playing really well. They're playing good defense. At least they have the last few weeks. They're getting better every week, and of course they're catching they're catching Kansas City just as they're loading on the bus to get out of town, so to speak. They're catching Kansas City. They couldn't be playing Kansas City at a better time than right now.
Right. In Carolina, still missing McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And a lot is on Darnold's plate. I know the party started off real good, and then it got sour, and it's getting more and more sour every week, seemingly.
Well, they got to help them with what they're doing, though, Ronnie. Yeah. They got to help them. They can't, you got to protect him. There's some coaching elements there too. If he was playing really well early, he should be playing well.
He should be playing well now. No,
and that's, I wouldn't put that all on his plate. That's a coaching thing as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mike, we're almost out of time here, but I know you have a good story about, I don't know anything this time. Okay, let's take it this time of the season. So Halloween's coming up. We're getting into November, and that's when the separation has begun. And now the separation is really going to take place as teams jockey for playoff seeding and so on and so forth. Give me a good story about this time of the year, how you would approach this as a coach.
Well, you're talking to your team about it. It's just like when you watch guys run like 5 miles, track or the Olympics, those long runs, the marathons, or whatever. You see them going around the track, and in the very beginning, there's a bunch of guys out there front. They're kicking it. They're going good, and everybody's in the pack. And there's a guy sitting in the middle of the pack or at the back of the pack that at the very end, he got a great chance of winning that thing. And the whole idea is get into the playoffs. We would like to win the division, but none of that matters. Well, The only thing that matters is getting in. Once you're in the elite, and then you do your business. You got to the whole goal is to win the division. And where you are right now, halfway through the season, you want to be in first place. If you're in second place, so be it. But you've got to continue to fight to get into the playoffs. And that's what it's all about coming down the stretch now. The first 8 games, everybody's just kind of playing, it seems like. Now, the second half of the season, after Halloween, it's where you see teams like Tennessee now gearing up. It's okay. It's for real now. Everybody's playing. They're learning things about themselves. They're getting better every week. Well, now the good teams really get good. And if you're going to be a really good team, this is when you're going to be at your best, because this is what's going to put you into the playoffs. And then that's a whole different story.
Yeah. And this year now we've got an extra game, right? An extra game. And I believe they did decide on the extra playoff spot. Oh no, I know what it is. It's when they have that extra playoff game. It's going to be a Monday night playoff game. That's what it is. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know. So they're going to have to figure out how they do that in terms of giving each team a fair amount of rest, right? Because in a playoff situation, aren't both teams, with the exception of the bye team, they're supposed to get the same amount of rest leading into that game?
Yeah, it doesn't. It never happens. No, we, in 2000, we ended up playing New Orleans the last game of the season on a Saturday, and we had to play them again the next Saturday in the playoffs. So, and we had just come off a Monday night game with Tampa Bay. No, they don't. They don't really care. They really don't care. It doesn't mean anything to them because it's all about money. It's money driven. You know that. They're not concerned about giving a team rest or anything like that. It doesn't make any sense.
So one team can go into that next game with 7 days preparation, and it's preparation and rest, while another team can only have 6, and they'll play it.
Yep.
Wow, that's
just the way it goes.
That's unfair. It's unfair from a preparation standpoint.
But that unfairness goes that way all through the season too, though, with the Thursday games,
with the Thursday night games.
So
yeah, but I thought with playoffs they would try to. But yeah, I don't even know why I shouldn't.
Because you can't choreograph who's going to win it, so it's hard to choreograph their schedule.
You just say, "Hey, you'll play next week."
Yeah, you're going to play tomorrow night. Guess what? Get ready.
Get ready.
Bus leaves in about 5 minutes.
Get ready. Yeah. All right, Mike. That's all we got time for, man. And,
all right, Ryan.
Thanks again for showing me the hardware there on the side of your desk. I thought that was just like a huge paperweight or something, you know.
Well, actually, because I was just moving it over here to the other side, Ron, and you just kind of caught me while I was moving.
You kind of caught, yeah. I'm sorry, man.
When we started, that's okay. Yeah.
Well, that's good. You keep that handy. We're expecting some strong wind. Yeah. And make sure you get a little itch on your face. And make sure you get that going.
So the Super Bowl ring, these call these nose pickers. But what would happen is when you're in a meeting and you're arguing over a play or something, how something should be done, you just with the ring, you just tap the desk like that.
Oh yeah. Oh boy, that gets attention. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the message.
Hey, my dad's favorite one was whenever he wanted to get an upgrade at the airlines, he put his ring on and then go up to the counter. And as the guy was looking for seats in first class, he would lap that hand over the other hand, and that ring would be showing. Oh boy, Mr. Pitts, we found one right here for you, man. 1A, perfect.
It's interesting you say that. So I don't generally wear the ring unless it's I'm on a speaking engagement or something like that. But where everybody wants to see it. But if like when we go out to dinner or something like that, occasionally I'll wear it because it does have an effect on people.
Oh yeah,
that's terrible. I know it's terrible, and I tell Julie that, but you know, it just like if you're going to go in and buy a car, like I go in and buy a new car, I always dress like I'm in jogging shorts and a t-shirt because you kind of get
get that price reflective of the apparel.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's the spoils.
Yeah,
of winning. There it is.
That's one of the good things about it. You know, people respect it and they love it. So
that's right. It is what it is. Hey, Mike, it's our 50th show. I don't know if you were aware of that. This is our 50th podcast. Well, I wasn't aware of it either, but Roy Hamilton, our producer, sent that over. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to Roy Hamilton, and congratulations to me. Yeah, all three of us. We're happy. And
do you have any surfing trophies? I know you were a good surfer up there. Yeah.
You know, my surfing days didn't last very long. I was out there at Huntington Beach there when we lived in Fountain Valley, and we used to walk up there. And man, believe it or not, we actually walk to the beach from Fountain Valley to the beach. And now
down Fountain Valley, we used to live off of Brookhurst down there in Huntington.
Brookhurst,
walk down to the beach. Yeah.
Oh man, it was great and some good times. And yeah, nowadays, I guess you tell kids to walk that far, they'd call Child Protective Services on you. But
and then we moved from Huntington Beach back to St. Louis, you know, when the team moved. And the two of our boys were miserable because they kept talking about, we're moving to the state of misery from the beach, you know.
The state of misery. Yeah, well, we pulled something close to that. We went to Buffalo.
Oh, that's worse.
Let me see. Fountain Valley, Buffalo. It's about the same. Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah.
Right.
All right, man. Okay, buddy.
All right,
I'll
Ryan.
see you next week. Have a good one. All right.